She refused to keep her fat mouth shut. It really does seem to me that this is like a 19-year-old's version of feminism. Their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable. It's the old, it truly is go woke, go broke.
What happens when a fairy tale turns into a real-life drama more twisted than any Brothers Grimm story? Disney's live-action Snow White remake was meant to be a magical reimagining, a fresh take on a beloved classic. But instead, it seems to have stumbled into a PR nightmare, plagued by behind-the-scenes chaos and a very public apology that might just be the tip of the iceberg. Let's dive into the swirling storm of controversy surrounding Snow White, and how one actress's words ignited a firestorm that Disney is desperately trying to extinguish. It all started with Rachel Zegler, the film Snow White, and some comments that landed like a poisoned apple in the fairy tale world. She dared to suggest the original 1937 animated classic was, well, a little outdated. Phrases like a 19-year-old's version of feminism and admitting she was scared of the original cartoon didn't exactly sit well with fans who hold the Disney classic sacred. Suddenly, Zegler's modern take felt less like a fresh perspective and more like a dismissal of a treasured legacy. Accusations flew: disrespect, rewriting history, and a perceived lack of appreciation for what made Snow White iconic in the first place. The internet predictably erupted, and a wave of negative attention crashed down on the production. In a move that felt both inevitable and potentially insufficient, Rachel Zegler issued an apology. She attempted to clarify her remarks, seemingly aiming to reassure audiences that she did respect the animated original. But was it enough? Could a carefully worded statement truly undo the damage? For many, the apology felt less like genuine remorse and more like a calculated attempt at damage control, a necessary step to salvage a project already teetering on the edge. The question lingered: was this apology a sincere attempt to mend fences, or just a band-aid on a much deeper wound? Because as it turns out, Zegler's comments were just the opening act in this unfolding drama. Behind the scenes, it seems Snow White wasn't having a fairy tale production either. Insiders whisper of 3 separate rounds of reshoots, a massive undertaking usually reserved for films in serious trouble. The studio reportedly scrambled to fix pacing issues, reorganize the plot, and essentially reshape the entire storyline. Greta Gerwig, a respected writer brought in to contribute to the screenplay, allegedly faced constant hurdles trying to meet the ever-shifting studio demands. Each attempt to fix things seemed to create a fresh set of problems. It paints a picture of a project struggling to find its identity, a film undergoing constant revisions, and a growing sense that something was fundamentally off track. But the drama didn't stop there. Enter Gal Gadot, the evil queen, and reports of a tense dynamic with Rachel Zegler. Rumors swirled of artistic clashes, disagreements over character direction, and a power struggle playing out on set. The transcript hints at a particularly explosive incident during the filming of a crucial scene in the Evil Queen's fortress. Apparently, tensions between Zegler and Gadot reached a boiling point, making it near impossible to get usable takes. Imagine the pressure cooker, take after take, hour after hour, with the 2 leads reportedly locked in a battle of creative wills. It sounds less like a harmonious film set and more like a dramatic showdown. And the casualty of this on-set friction, the entire fortress sequence, a complex and pivotal part of the film, was ultimately cut. Despite the significant time and money invested in filming and refilming it, the footage was deemed unusable. Continuity errors, inconsistent tone, incompatible takes, the reasons piled up. For Rachel Zegler, this was reportedly a major blow. Sources say she felt this deleted scene showcased her strongest performance, a crucial moment for her portrayal of Snow White. To have it vanish entirely from the final cut must have felt like a significant loss, further fueling the narrative of a troubled production. The signs of trouble continued to mount. Disney abruptly canceled the high-profile UK premiere, a move that raised eyebrows across the industry. And then came the news of a full-year delay, pushing the release all the way to 2025. Industry observers suggest Disney is in damage control mode, desperately trying to buy time to refine the film and mitigate the overwhelmingly negative buzz. The canceled premiere, in particular, screams of a studio trying to avoid a hostile press environment, fearful of reporters grilling Zegler about her controversial remarks and the rumored on-set tensions with Gadot. It's a picture of a studio scrambling to manage a PR disaster, hinting at a deeper unease about the film's prospects. What does all this mean for Rachel Zegler's future and the fate of this Snow White remake? Some speculate this controversy could cast a long shadow over Zegler's career, potentially making studios hesitant to cast her in similarly. The initial spark, the pebble that started the avalanche, was ignited by the very actress cast to embody Snow White herself, Rachel Zegler. In the lead-up to filming, comments emerged that sent shockwaves through the Disney fanbase and beyond. It wasn't just a casual remark, it was a series of statements that seemed to challenge the very essence of the 1937 animated classic. Phrases like, "It really does seem to me that this is like a 19-year-old's version of feminism," painted a picture of a stark departure from the traditional fairy tale. Then came the admission, "I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once, and then I never picked it up again." For many, these weren't just innocent opinions. They were perceived as dismissive, even disrespectful, towards a film cherished for generations. The backlash was swift and fierce. Accusations of wokeness, of disrespecting the Brothers Grimm source material, and of fundamentally misunderstanding the timeless appeal of Snow White flooded social media and online forums. Critics argued that Zegler's comments revealed a disdain for the very story she was meant to bring to life. The idea that Snow White, a character synonymous with gentle kindness and classic fairy tale romance, was being reimagined through a lens that seemed to prioritize modern ideology over traditional charm, left many deeply uneasy. This wasn't just about artistic interpretation, it was about the perceived erosion of a cultural icon. The digital torches and pitchforks were out, and the online kingdom was in uproar, questioning whether this Snow White was doomed from the start. Faced with a rising tide of negativity threatening to engulf the entire project, Rachel Zegler issued an apology. A carefully worded statement emerged, seemingly designed to quell the storm and reassure audiences that, despite her earlier remarks, she did indeed harbor respect for the animated original. In light of the backlash, the transcript notes, Zegler's apology surfaced seemingly a bid to reassure the public that she does in fact have admiration for the animated original. But the question hanging in the air was it genuine? Or was it simply a calculated maneuver, a PR necessity to stem the bleeding and salvage a production hemorrhaging goodwill? Skepticism ran rampant. For many, the apology felt too little, too late. It was perceived as damage control, a strategic move dictated by studio executives rather than a heartfelt expression of regret. The timing itself was suspect, conveniently appearing after the negative press reached a fever pitch. Critics pointed out the vagueness of the apology, questioning whether it truly addressed the core concerns or merely offered a surface-level placation. Whether her apology will soothe tensions or remain a minor footnote in a production riddled with complications remains to be seen, the transcript ominously states, highlighting the uncertainty surrounding its effectiveness. Was this apology a sincere attempt to mend the fractured fairy tale, or just another layer of complication in an already troubled production? The jury, and more importantly, the audience, remained unconvinced. Beneath the surface of the public relations storm, a tempest was brewing on set. The transcript reveals a production plagued by fundamental issues, far beyond the usual bumps in the road. Difficulties on the set have been mounting for a while, it states, and that's an understatement. Insiders whispered of not one, not two, but 3 distinct rounds of reshoots. 3. For a film of this scale, that's not just unusual, it's a red flag waving frantically in the wind. These weren't minor tweaks or polish, they were extensive efforts to fix pacing problems, reorganize key plot points, and generally reshape the film's storyline. It paints a picture of a project struggling to find its footing, a narrative in constant flux, desperately seeking a cohesive direction. Greta Gerwig, a writer known for her nuanced and often subversive storytelling, think Barbie and Little Women, was brought in to contribute to the screenplay. Yet, even her talents seemed to be tested by the chaotic environment. Greta Gerwig, who contributed to the screenplay, allegedly encountered challenge after challenge as she tried to meet the studio's requirements. The transcript suggests a constant push and pull, a struggle to balance Gerwig's creative vision with the studio's evolving demands. Each major alteration, intended to salvage the film, seemed to introduce a fresh set of complications. It was a domino effect of rewrites and reshoots, a production caught in a cycle of trying to fix problems that only seemed to multiply. The fairy tale was becoming less enchanted and more entangled. Adding fuel to the fire, and perhaps exacerbating the production woes, was the reported dynamic between the film's two leading ladies. Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot